Hello there, and welcome again to 360 View. Olufemi Motawa here, your host, and I'm glad you've joined me again on this episode. Please hit the subscribe button if you've not done so. Let's keep the community going. I appreciate everyone who has subscribed and make comments from time to time. So President Buhari, that's our Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari, he's just returned from this 19th overseas trip in the year 2022, and this time he just returned from the United States, where the president of that country, President Joe Biden, has lavished praise on Buhari, praises him. He said he has followed the trajectory of Buhari since 2015, when that's Biden, was vice president to Barack Obama. So I appreciate Buhari and all that. But it gets interesting if you look at some of the things um, President Biden said about Buhari. So United States President Joe Biden hailed President Muhammadu Buhari for his effort to deepen democracy, not only in Nigeria but in Africa. So Buhari is seen in the Western world as someone who is building democracy in the continent. President Biden spoke in Washington, that's the capital of the US, while meeting with leaders of six African countries built to have election in 2023 on the sidelines of the US Africa Leaders Summit. So the first thing that comes to mind immediately is okay. So six African countries will be having election in 2023, Nigeria included in that in that mix of the African countries having election in 2023. But that's not the point. The point is that President Biden had to call African leaders, to the US for what they call the US Africa Leaders Summit. Now, analysts have said that some of the reasons why this has happened is the fact that the United States is seeing how China is taking most of the accolade in terms of relationship with Africa. Um, China and other parts of the communist and the eastern part of the world are penetrating into the continent in terms of loans, in terms of project delivery, and it's a competitive world out there. So the West will like to find a way to curtail that, because ultimately Africa matter. It's really about Africans that not knowing that they matter, that make us to koto to make most of these countries in the world. There's no continent in the world that can do without Africa. So, but back to this story. Biden said he has been following Buhari, you know, since he was elected president, from being an opposition leader at the time when Biden was vice president. So he said it was very heightening that Nigeria remained a model for democracy, especially the fact that Buhari was not seeking a third term. Well, Buhari cannot seek a third term in Nigeria political landscape today, because third term is not in our constitution. So it is a non-starter. It's not even. It's a non-brainer that Buhari should seek a third term. Why will he do that when the constitution does not allow it? And then, oh, do they think that African leader, because of the picture we have, African leaders can be savages? The picture of Idi Amin, the picture of Abacha, Sani Abacha, people who want to, the picture of many former African leaders who want to remain there, even including those who are still currently there, someone like Paul Biya. Uh, and there was a picture of a particular African leader, South Sudan leader, who was visibly peeing on his body, and he refused to vacate the office. So we get that, but don't placate us with this kind of information that Buhari will seek a third time. He cannot. So the US president encouraged Buhari and the African electoral empire to continue to be totally non-partisan. He said at the meeting was the select African leaders, including those of DRC, that's Democratic Republic of Congo, Gabon, Liberia, Madagascar, and Sierra Leone. Those are the other countries that will be having, those are other African countries that will be having the election in 2023. So the US called them to discuss election and democracy in Africa, share experiences with the United States on the forthcoming elections, as well as encourage the countries to continue with the democratic process. If we really want to have this argument, we say the US really cannot pontificate, because even Biden's election is still being contested almost 2 years after into his tenure. So, and we know the what happened in the United States after the election, how the incumbent didn't want to leave the position. In the process, they even went to attack the Capitol. That's the seat of power in the United States. Uh, is what they now call, people now generally refer to as insurrection. So the US cannot pontificate to us, cannot tell us how to run our democracy. Um, so Biden pointed out that he understood challenges facing the countries and expressed the willingness of the United States to support them in every area of assistance that might be required. Um, so but the point is this, ladies and gentlemen, do you support Biden's description of Buhari? Because Biden has described Buhari as, praising him as the kind of leader the continent of Africa needs. Uh, if you're a Nigerian listening to this now, what would be your response if you see Mr. Biden to tell him about who Buhari is? Has he done enough to warrant this kind of praise that United States is showering upon him? Has he done enough? So, but obviously, it looks like President Biden is a fan of Buhari. Um, Again, understand that in this situation, for leaders of countries among themselves, it's all about interest, not so much about the individual leadership, or it's about interest. So what's the United States interest in Nigeria at the moment? What are what are their interests in Nigeria? Before I round off on this, I just want to mention that Buhari, among other things, while one of the most talking, the main reasons why people are against him, or constantly uh, get to find out what kind of leader this man is the fact that um, he has been absent. He has been absent in many occasions when he's needed, um, especially when there's a crisis at home and he has an appointed trip abroad. Rather than commensurate and wait and solve the home problem, he takes his jet and jet out. So it gives an high output. The fact that he really didn't care. He doesn't care about what is going on in the country. For your information, when he landed at the Nnamdi Azikwe International Airport yesterday, Sunday, that was his 19th trip at least. Let me mention some of the countries he has visited. He was in Rwanda in June, Equatorial Guinea in May, Guinea-Bissau in December, Niger in this early December. Um, the United States was there in September and now in December. The United Kingdom was there in March and November. The one of November was for his medical trip, which is really ridiculous, going to, to take care of himself when he could have established a permanent hospital in the country. Then United Arab Emirates was there in May, Liberia in July, South Korea in October. It was in Ghana in June. It was in Portugal in June. It was in Spain in May. It was in Belgium in February. It was in Ethiopia in also February, Kenya in March, Ivory Coast in May, and Senegal in July. In between, Buhari and his vice, Osinbajo, have been both away from the country at the same time, at least three times in the last 2 months. So just imagine both the president and his vice out of the country without proper arrangement for how this the country should run. Uh, there's a lot to talk about, but the fact that President Biden is praising him, I don't know if you agree with it because I don't think uh, Biden understands the challenges Nigeria is facing at the moment. But maybe that's just me. Let me hear your opinion in the comment section. Thank you again for listening and watching, and see you next.